snacks.
What it do, snackers, snackettes, snack X's? It's your boy Gage. I'm here with Jokes and Sin.
Yep.
And as you can see, we have a very special guest, Andrea Rose. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I can't hear you. This is terrible.
I can hear.
You guys can hear me, I can assume.
Yes.
Excellent. I can't hear you. That's fine. I don't need to hear you right now. It'll probably fix itself. Don't worry about it.
Can you hear me?
You
Yes,
and I
I
tune
can
in
hear
Ladies
you.
next week,
100%.
where we get together once a week and we talk about all things that are happening in pop culture. And today we have a special guest, Andrea Rose, who is a sci-fi and fantasy author. And we're going to talk with her a bit about all things. We're going to talk about books and we're going to talk about authoring. I think that's a word. That's a word. It's a real word. We're going to talk about that a tad. But first, Jokes, you have a job to do.
Yes, sir.
So Jokes will get our Beacons link up and loaded for all of you. It'll be posted in the chat so that you all can follow us everywhere that we are because we're busy. And the Beacons link is the easiest way to find us across all social media. And now that he has done that, Sin, you have a job to do.
Yeah, so let's shout out our top tier patrons, starting with Anthony Cunningham, Marcus Houston, Susan Dortch, Tyrone Carson, Meticulous Skin, Alex Lee, Ellis Mbe, and Kermit Ferguson. Thank you very much. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Indeed, we do. And I still can't hear y'all. However, I'm good at this. What up, Cuddy?
Yo.
Good to see you. I can hear you now. It takes a few seconds for me to kick in. I don't know what that is. But again, I'm a professional. Andrea.
Yes.
Am I saying that right? I have a thing with Andrea.
It is Andrea.
It is Andrea.
But I don't really correct people because I answer to both. I pronounce it Andrea. My mother, my father, they do Andrea, but like my aunt would say Andrea. And so it was just.
Here's the thing.
It was never a big deal
mom
for me.
And dad. Out of respect.
Thank you. It's only because his middle name was Andre. And so that's why. So like, okay, it's Andrea because I'm named after Andre.
It's to me.
Yeah.
I think Andrea Rose flows better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Candace.
Author. Yeah. You're an author.
I am.
That's pretty cool. You do have books. You have books. Candace said, "Good evening, Miss Andrea." Now that is your most recent book, as is on the poster behind you, right? So Scenes Out of Place.
Yes, it's my face. And your guest last week did the artwork, so I felt like it was like a showcase to tie it into last week.
Yeah,
last week's news.
This is like a collection of short stories, correct?
Yes. So Scenes Out of Place is everything from Dragons Reawakening to surviving a zombie apocalypse to finding yourself in space when you didn't want to be there. And then there's a couple scenes that didn't make it to my other 3 book series that I have out that needed to exist. It couldn't exist in those books, so they existed here.
I like that. Was that like the catalyst for deciding to do a book like this? It's a series of short stories. Is it just like as an author, as a writer, as a thinker, you are always coming up with stories and you need a place to put them, and it worked out?
So it's a little bit of both. When I get a book idea, I get a scene that I get one scene and I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is going to go yet, but I'm going to remember this scene, or I'll write it down and I'll write out the scene like it's going to go into a book. Like I'll write it out like a chapter. And then if something comes from it, if I can think of something later, then it turns into a book. But then I noticed I was having a lot of scenes and little short stories that needed to exist, but I didn't have anything past that point for it. And some of these stories I have existed for about 14, 15 years. And that's all I've ever had for it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to force a really dry book when all I have is this. So I call it a collection of scenes and short stories. So some of them are complete short stories, or short stories how I like to leave them with like ambiguous endings. I don't like things wrapped up in a bow. I like them to be open ended so people can infer a meaning from my work.
Okay. Does open ended imply cliffhanger? What's the difference between something being open ended and something being a cliffhanger?
So open ended would be like, I'm trying to think of like a popular movie or something. So like Ready Player One has a sequel.
Yeah. Yes.
But the way the first book ended, he completed that story, but there was still more that could have been said. So like if you wanted to reopen the door one day, you can do that. It wasn't to where
it wasn't like Back to the Future where literally
you can't change anything. Yeah. Like, oh no, I wrote myself into a wall. I can't do anything else. Like, oh no, the story's finished. It's like how Avatar: The Last Airbender, how even after this the third season was over, they came out with comics because the main storyline ended, but there was still more to be said to it. It's like, okay, well, what's next? It's not, people didn't die, people didn't say, oh, and they lived happily ever after, nothing bad ever happened to them again. It was like, no, they solved this problem. The world's still evil. There's still people in there that don't like them, but they only solved this problem.
So are they open-ended because you like to leave that for people, or are they open-ended because they were originally possibly part of a bigger story that you haven't written yet? How much of it is really for you?
Most of it's for me. I very famously say I write books that I want to read. I write them for me, and I just hope that other people like them. But I leave it open ended because I never like a story that doesn't make me wonder when I'm done reading it. Whenever I read any type of book, if I can't think of a fan fiction that can like, oh, okay, from this point on, they could do this X, Y, and Z, or they defeated the Fire Lord, but there's another Earthbender person who's trying to be the next Kyoshi, but he's not the Avatar. Like, what are they doing? Like, if I could never have that thought about it, I feel like I wouldn't really enjoy the book if I can't stop and think about for hours what else could have happened. Like, oh my god,
what other things could have been?
Yeah,
are those the kind of stories that you're drawn to as a reader?
I am. I don't like close-ended. I don't like yes or no answers. I don't like we lived happily ever after. Like I would like a happy ending, but not to the point where you can't have any leeway with the ending.
Is that more for your personal imagination? Is it like, because there are a lot of people who just like need closure, like shut it down, give me an end. But like just talking to you, and we've known each other for a number of years, but like your imagination is like always moving, always bubbling. There's always something brewing. Is that
so? You guys don't think I planned this, but I didn't. I just have a lot of books flying around. So in this one, I just have books like this is my office. In this one, I wrote this, and it's a standalone. The story's complete. I have nothing else for the story at all.
Okay,
cool.
The way I ended it, I have one person who comes up to my table almost every year whenever he sees me and yells at me because he would like a sequel.
It was over.
But it's over.
But like,
no,
that's it.
It's over.
That's it.
The story's told. Is the world perfect? No. Did she change? Did my main character do all these things that would just say there's no other path that anyone could ever take? No. But did she solve the problem? Did she do what she needed to do? Yes. Her story is done. And I won't say in the future, like 10 years from now, I have another idea and I'm just like, oh, I could do this. I also would have the ability to do so because I did not write it into a corner.
A wall. You didn't write yourself into a corner. I appreciate that. Your other books, you have two other books that are now, they have at least second books.
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were they planned that way?
Yes. My series Alindo, which is my sci-fi one, if you like to see girls in space, women
So
in
Jokes,
space.
if you could share Andrea's website really quickly, pull that up on screen so we can see it, and you'll be able to see the books that are there. That would be cool. But
I
continue.
normally have them around me, but I don't.
That's
They're
all right.
out of reach.
We got you.
But Alindo, which is about Aubriana, who finds herself the middle one, Alindo. She finds herself on an alien planet in the middle of a intergalactic war, all because the mother who she thought abandoned her was really a general in the alien army. So now she has to help save a planet she never called home. That one always is supposed to be a trilogy. And then Amatry's Magic is my DC based one, and that one was always supposed to be a trilogy too.
Okay.
Just I did the other one. She found herself she's an Unbound Magical in DC. If you like DC witches, check it out.
DC witches.
Yes, I worked in DC when I thought of this one. This idea came from walking past the Capitol, and
zoom in a bit, Jokes.
Just went past the Capitol, pointed it, and said witches.
No, there's a whole world that you don't see in DC. There's a whole part of DC that you'll never see, and that the average person will never see. And I was then taking the metro, and I was just thinking, DC's very old, and it's such a city where there's a side for like politics, there's a side for finance, there's a side for like the restaurant boom that's coming up, for people who are just sort of like brunching. There's a little bit of everything, and sometimes those worlds don't intersect. And so I was thinking, well, what would happen if there's like a magical world that we're not seeing, that just sort of takes place in the real world, like everyday people, and like the person you're walking past is a witch and you don't even know. And like there's
just have no idea.
Buildings we don't see because only people with the magic eye can see it. And I'm like, they have their own police department and all that stuff. And I thought that's where this whole book series came from, that idea. Like there's a whole world we're not seeing, and I want to dive into it.
What informs your titles, the names that you
Oh, the amount of times I get that question. So honestly, to be 100% honest, I didn't want anything else to come up with it. If you like Googled my title, I did not want anything else to come up with it. If you looked it up on Amazon, I wanted it to be the only option that came up.
Right. I have a lot of respect for search engine optimization. Trust me, I get it.
For Alindo, I will admit, I never don't flame me because you have been before we got on this. I never read or watched Lord of the Rings. I never really. And then when I finally did watch it, I just was so bored. And so I'm so sorry, people. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I'm also apologizing to your viewers because I don't want them to hate me for this. But I never knew Alindo was from that.
Right.
So I guess when I Googled it, I kept wondering why an elf came up on Amazon after I published it. I was like, who is this thing? But the titles were because Adelathea is the world in which the book takes place. It takes place in the fictional world that I created. Elendil is the planet that the story takes place on. And then Amatry's Magic was, I'm not gonna lie, I had another plan for that title when I gave the book the title. And then my original cover artist published the art before I wanted him to. And so I was then sort of locked into the title and I couldn't change it. And so I had a different idea and I was actually going to change the title and I ended up not, but ended up loving it. And the character I ended up with, who is named Amatry, I loved very much. So I'm not okay that I got locked into it.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Scenes out of place. Good. It's the only normal one, but it's because they all seem out of place except in this book. So there's scenes out of place.
Got it. I dig it. I again, those are the kinds of things that, like, when you're creating a story or creating a world or, being imaginative, where names come from, how we decide what we're going to call something, what we're going to stick to. And it's actually kind of funny you bring up Lord of the Rings, because it's one of my biggest complaints about Lord of the Rings. I have actually kind of gone on rants on this very show about how I respect Lord of the Rings for what it is and what it has done for fantasy as a whole, and like more or less making it mainstream, and probably really for being the catalyst for like D&D. But like, I find that the names of the places and the people are so difficult to remember because they just feel like nonsense, that like it does tend to make it boring, because when they're giving you juxtaposition about why something is important or why a particular place is the stronghold where we all need to go to do whatever, the name of the place holds no meaning for you, because you don't, what does that mean? You know what I mean? And so I think that stuff like that is very interesting in terms of like how they're presented to the reader or the viewer, if it's, you know, if it's a movie or something like that. And so that kind of stuff is just always interesting to me, in how creators create that kind of stuff and get to that space. Jokes, do me a favor and drop Andrea's link tree in the chat, please. Everybody, please go check out the link tree and make sure you go and use that to follow Andrea across social media.
I'm on most, not all anymore, but I'm on most.
I get it. You self-publish?
I am self-published.
That's a beautiful thing.
It is
Talk
so
to me
hard.
about doing that. Well, sure, but it has its benefits, right?
Yes. So the self-publishing is
Let's
probably
drop the I'm sorry, the website. Let's go back to us, Jokes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Self-publishing is amazing. It's fun. It's tiring. It's crazy. It's love. It's hate, because it all is you. It is me. It is. I'm the CEO. I'm the marketing. I'm finance. I am PR. I am forever learning. I don't know it all, but you sort of need to know it all. But you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't
find
know
out
it.
you don't know it. Yeah.
But self-publishing, I will have to say Google was like my best friend. And YouTube was my best friend. I get that question a lot at conventions, and I feel like sometimes people want me to give them, like, to walk them through the process, and I always have to say I can't do that, because what worked for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. What my time and effort and money was able to put out does not, like, you might have access to more money than me, meaning you can afford something a lot better. Like, you don't have to cut corners like I had to, or you don't have to wait as long, or I might have written off something that I couldn't do for myself because I'm like, I can't afford that person. And if I don't tell you them, you might think I am
trying to withhold information or something like that. Yeah.
So all I do is, like, I published through KDP. Amazon has an amazing, I understand people. Whenever you watch this. But Amazon has an amazing platform for indie authors, and it's 100% free, basically, from the jump to self-publish any ebook on Amazon. Even to publish a print book on Amazon was free. And at the time when I started publishing, no other platform that I knew of was free. Everything else you had to pay to upload, and then you got to. The thing that always annoyed me is, like, if I have to pay you to upload my site, why do you get commission off the back end if I'm paying on the front end?
You're already paying it,
And then if I have to pay you for every update to the inside of my book, if I have to pay you because I wanted to edit the cover, why do you still get money on the back end? And then Amazon KDP, they had very easy to understand breakdowns of walkthroughs of how to go from putting your tax information in there, to making your account, to uploading your book, to how to do the cover. They even have a cover creator. Like, everything was simple, easy to figure out. And that's why a lot of people use that platform to publish, because they made it so affordable and so easy. And then I know people who, when I would tell them that at conventions, would literally was like, oh, I can't, you work with Amazon, I don't want to talk to you. And like, I've literally had people say that to me. But I'm like, but you don't understand that at the time, even now, like, it's the most cost-effective way. And so but then now there's other sites, and that one site that would make you charge for every step, basically, they're now doing free because
how else can you compete?
They didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if you're getting money for every single time people buy the ebook, you get a commission. And if you get a commission every single time someone buys the print book, why am I paying you beforehand when you're getting money off the back end?
I get it. I do.
And then there's another site, Draft to Digital, which I'll say that name out loud because I love them as well. They are a great site that I found after I started using Amazon, where they put you on Barnes & Noble ebook, they put you on Kobo, they put you in Libby, they put you in so many other places, and you can just upload one document to drafttodigital.com. And it's also very easy. Very easy to upload everything. Everything is step by step. It's actually probably, in my opinion, easier than Amazon, but the quality isn't as good when you do print.
Got
it.
But for ebooks, if you're trying to be everywhere, that was a great platform for me. So like figuring out what platform I wanted to use, what I could afford, what I wanted my product to look like, that was a process. And then for finding a cover editor, a cover artist. They can range from $50 to $500.
Sure.
And the person I originally used, I couldn't afford him after a certain point. I was like, and I believe in paying people what they're worth. I don't believe in asking for discounts. If you want to give me a discount, you can offer it to me. I'm not going to ask you for it.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, I can't afford you anymore. Like consistently, I just can't. And I'm not going to ask you to lower your prices when your price is your price.
Right.
And so then I ended up finding another cover artist who did great work, but was also more affordable. But like some people would feel weird about using the company I use because it was like, well, I want to work directly with an artist and not with a company that assigns it to an artist. I'm like, well, then that if your pocket can afford that, your pocket can afford that. And I love that for you. No shade, no hate. Do what you have to do. But if I give you a pamphlet of what I did and none of that works for you, you're going to say I set you up for failure, which is I'm like, I can't tell you what I do. I can just point you to what I did and then say, what's that term that we always say? But that's just me. Like,
yeah. I mean, look, what made you decide to self-publish? Did you look for a publisher before you decided to self-publish?
Yes. And I was trying to publish Adelathea during the time when all they cared about was werewolves and vampires. And I didn't care about werewolves and vampires.
Twilight time.
Yep.
I didn't care. I mean, we had a whole conversation. I love me some vampires. I do. But I didn't care. That wasn't the story I had in me.
Vampires.
Not Twilight vampires. Never Twilight.
All right.
But that wasn't the story I had in me at the time. That wasn't the story I have written. This wasn't the story that was ready. And I wasn't going to change the characters just to get a literary author. And I'm sorry, literary agent. And I realized that's when people always think I'm rude when I say this, but that's when I realized I don't want to write for other people. I write the stories I wanted to read. I write the stories I want to read. And I don't want someone to tell me, oh, well, that's not going to sell. Okay, but that doesn't mean the story doesn't need to be told right now. Like, this is my story that I'm telling. And obviously it needs to be told because it's in my head. It needs to be out on paper. And just because it's not what's selling, because you're only pushing vampires and you're only pushing werewolves, because you're trying to go off the Twilight thing and you're trying to go off of every other dystopian teen romance with the inappropriate age gap, does not mean that is what I am trying to do. And so I realized I had more control of writing and publishing my own stories if I just took 100% control over it and not used other people's opinions who didn't really care about the quality of the work. They cared about if you could mass produce it to market standards.
Right. So the idea that it's not going to sell isn't that it's not going to sell or that people don't want it. It's that it might not sell the numbers they're looking for.
Right.
As a, you know what I mean? As a publisher, that's not it's not always the best case scenario for you as the author, right? And I think that's an honest reality for any creative that puts their heart and soul into their art, whatever that art happens to be, whether you make music or you're a digital artist or whatever it is. There are always going to be people who are in the business of that who will try to tell you what the most profitable thing is, which is okay. Right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the thing for you, and you might not be looking for that thing. It also doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't going to break through, because for all of the people who were in love with all things Twilight, there were plenty of people who couldn't stand it, and there are people who are specifically looking for the alternative to it, right? And then anything else that falls in that line, they feel like it's cookie cutter or it's copycat, and that's not what they want, because they start to see through it, right? People start to say, oh, they're just trying to be like Twilight, or they're just trying to do, so I totally get that. I do want to ask about what the process is like for you, because you do have books on Audible, right?
I'm assuming, sorry, it froze for me, so I'm assuming you asked me what was that process like. So I'm going to go with that thought that you're asking me what the process is.
Oh man, I think we may have. Oh nope, there you go.
He's back.
Nope.
Somewhat.
I had a feeling that was gonna happen. So you don't know this. So we're gonna probably all get kicked. Right on cue.
I'm gonna blame you.
Literally jokes. As it was coming out of your face, we all got kicked.
Yeah. Like, you don't know this. Yeah. I'm assuming we're still live.
Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
Okay. So I think your question was, what was the process of getting it on Audible?
Yeah.
So again, Amazon has a really great platform called ACX. It's not for everyone, but it was for me because it was affordable. Again, they have a catalog of voice actors, actresses, where you can go in and like, I need someone who has a contemporary Southern voice, because that is a thing. And you can go through and you can put your book up there and you can say, hey, I'm looking for a voice actor or actress to do this book. Here is the script that I want you to read. And you receive, for one book I put up there, I received literally within 2 weeks, dozens of my brain is not working. I keep want to say autographs, auditions, of different voice actresses who are trying to play out the role of my part. For Adelanthea, for Amatrice Magic, even for Elendil. And everything is like the contract is brought up by ACX. You can put in all of the timing. It basically made it a how-to do an audiobook. And it just made it so easy and affordable, again, because I remember I had a gentleman come up to my table and he was dyslexic and he really wanted to read Elendil. But he also was a truck driver. He's like, if you could have this on audio, I would get it in a heartbeat. And I'm like, by next convention, this will be on Audible. And it was, because ACX made it so easy. And now that I can get stuff on Spotify, I am now in a different mindset where it's like, hey, look, easy and affordable. I might need medium hard and a little bit expensive, because I now want to transition them to Spotify to make it more accessible for a lot of different readers and listeners as well.
On that note, you also have a Patreon.
I do. I am slowly reactivating my Patreon.
Okay.
I am working on a audio drama that I will be the voice of. And so I will be posting behind the scenes, scenes out of place behind the scenes, scenes of on the Patreon. I also have like a tier where I help potential writers figure out how to get your book done, because sometimes the hardest part of writing, people honestly don't realize this, and even I don't even realize this, is writing. Like, you have to actually sit down and write, and sometimes having someone accountable to you who's like, look, you're literally paying me to make sure you do your work. Like, I give people timelines. I check in with them. We have meetings where like, hey, what are you getting stuck on? Well, what is the issue with that? I help them think about editors. What is your budget for that? What can you actually afford this? Okay, think of what to think about while you're editing, while you're planning, while you're outlining your book. the thing. Oh, thank you. What to think about as you're writing your first book, because sometimes you get your draft and you're just like, okay, well, what's next? Well, you could have been doing a lot of stuff as you were writing your draft. And so I help people through that for however long they want me to. Some people, I've helped someone out for about 6 or 7 months to get them through. And I was just their sounding board, who was like their confidential sounding boards. Like, you can talk anything off, like talk about it. We have a scheduled meeting once a month. We discuss it. I give you things, actual tasks to complete. Like, here's where you need to be next month. And if you're not, you're wasting your money. Like, I'm still here, but like, you're wasting your money if you're not going to be at the next tier, at the next level when we meet next month. And so I do that on my Patreon. And then sometimes if I'm like getting artwork done, I'll like post the stages of it. But now I'm going to mostly use it for getting this audio drama off the ground. And the tiers of helping other writers, because one of the things that's amazing about being an indie author, self-published author, is just because you start that way doesn't mean you're going to always be that way. I've seen a lot of different authors who start off indie posting, I just got like a publisher who wants to work with me now. So and then that gives you the power when they say, I want to work with you. It's like, well, you came to me.
That's different.
And that gives you the power to say, no, my story is staying the same, because remember, you came to me.
For me, let me be very clear, and I'm being clear to you because I don't think we've had this discussion. Maybe we did. We may have had this discussion the first time I met you. I don't read novels. Generally, if there aren't pictures in it, I'm not reading it. That's just who I am as a person, right? But like the influx of people that I have seen, we met at a Comic-Con. How do you end up at a Comic-Con? What brought you in? You clearly have a background in geekery. Let's use that, right? So how do you end up at a Comic-Con? And like, personally, I feel like there's been an uplift in what I've seen, and not just in indie authors, but in novel reading, like in people picking up and choosing novels in general. I think that is in some ways tied to that, to like people finding them at places like Comic-Cons. But I also want to kind of know what other things you might think need to, or you would like to see change in the business of being an author, publishing a book, and so forth. So let's start with Comic-Cons. How'd you end up at a Comic-Con?
So that was because I had published my book for a year and no one bought it. That was before I realized my friends and family were not my target audience. They were not my market. It was I did not learn that until a year after I published Adelethea. And it's heartbreaking to realize that, but it's also, it's not their fault. It's my fault for just assuming they were going to buy everything I did. And so I was looking for...
Love you too, G.
I was looking for different platforms to like sell. And I've always wanted to go to a convention. But growing up, my parents didn't really get it. I grew up in a very religious household. And so for them, if they it was a battle I wasn't fighting with them. I was like, you know what? When I get older, I can go. And I had always wanted to go to AwesomeCon for years. And then it always ended up on weekends. I couldn't go because I had to work. And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to go because I applied to Baltimore Comic-Con and I got in, but I have never actually been to a convention yet. So let me figure out what's going on. And I went to AwesomeCon and I met Cerise
Rennie Murphy.
I was like, you are my dream. You're here. And her best friend, her best friend had this huge headpiece on so that she could see people from the aisle and like bring them over. And Cerise was telling me about her book, To Find You, which is a historical romance of two souls trying to find you in four different time periods. I know that book. I was there with my best friend, and I was telling her I'm going to my first convention in Baltimore, and she talked me through everything. And she was just so sweet. And I was like, oh my God, I can actually do this. And so I walked around AwesomeCon and I saw the different authors. I saw what I liked, what I didn't like. And again, your girl's balling on a budget, but it's a very tight budget. So
Get it.
I did what I could. And so I was at Baltimore Comic Con and I only brought 30 books because again, balling on a very tight budget. But I sold out. I sold out all of them by Saturday, which is great.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And I learned to sell. I started learning to sell at Baltimore because my friend who was with me, she yelled at me if I messed up. She heard my horrible elevator pitch and she was like, stop. Okay. She's like, that is terrible. I know what this book's about. I read it. That is a terrible way to describe your book. And you're not even doing it consistently. She's like, sit down and write it. Yeah. And I spent like the next like 20, 30 minutes practicing my elevator pitch that I still say to this day. And I went to my first convention, I think in 2017. And so I started realizing, okay, this is still doable. Because Cerise told me it was doable, but she also had more than one book. She had a complete book series out plus To Find You, I think one other one. So like she had multiple books. I have one little thing. You see how big that is? That's not that big. I was like, I don't know if this is going to sell. I didn't know how to do it. And then I learned to do the elevator pitch. I learned to sell. And I realized conventions were just family. They were fun. They were full of a lot of people who, even at that time, was just like, I'm seeing more and more books, and I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. I think, and this is, I think a lot of women also were realizing, okay, look, I could also get a book for me at a convention. Like, I love comics, but sometimes, I do want a book that has someone who looks like me on the cover.
Yeah.
Also, the first time I had a little Black girl like want a photo with me, and she was like, because I had these little cards of the characters, and she's like, wait, you said that was Sasha? I was like, yeah, the Black one. She's like, wait, she's the main character? And I was like, well, yeah, I wrote it, so of course the main character is going to be Black. Right. And she was like, oh my God. It was like almost like I literally saw in her eyes, she was like, wait, I could do this. And then I was like, you know what? We need to be in these spaces more. And I was like, I'm going to sell at conventions as much as I can, as many times as I possibly can.
Beautiful.
And like book festivals are fun, but conventions, no matter how exhausted I am, I'm so like full of heart when I'm done because of all the people from all the different fandoms and loves coming, and just like, you know what? I can sell to someone who is deep into Marvel lore, and then someone who is like on the other end of what they think fantasy and sci-fi is. Like, I can sell to all of them because books, I feel like, connect people that way. And so to your next point about it changing, I do think in the last, especially since post-pandemic, books have been a lot more prevalent at conventions, to the point where conventions want to do a writer's block. My word to that is stop. Don't do a writer's block. That actually hurts writers. Because when you put I get the best sells when I'm just smack dab in the random artist alley. Because when people can walk through and see different things, it's like, oh, okay. Oh, wait, there's a book there too. Let me check this one out. But when you are in a row of 10 books, that person who's in the middle is getting so messed up because no one's going to buy their book because they've just bought 10 books. And I've seen it happen at conventions where it's like, I feel so bad because I'm on the corner and you're 4 tables in and they bought everything of mine. And it's like, I can't afford yours now. Well, can I get your card? And it's like, I'm thank you for buying all of my books, but at the same time, I'm so sorry that I might have cost someone else a sell that they could have needed. And I know it's not my fault, but it's still like I've also been that person in the middle where it's just like, oh.
Well, there's also the idea of a convention being a bit more like a market, right? And kind of having things, mixed in with each other means that there's a person who's more likely to walk past your booth if, like, again, I am not going to read novels. So if I see an entire row that's all people with novels, I'm probably not even going down that road.
And you
know what I mean? So I'm not even gonna find out there might be something that's in. Now, as doing what we do, we're likely to go down the aisle just to find something interesting because we want to talk to people and we're looking for that. But like as a shopper, as a consumer, you know what I mean? Like when you walk down those aisles, you walk down those aisles specifically looking for the kinds of things that you want. And so you're right. Like even if you do decide like I really want to go down this aisle because I love novels, I love reading, I want to, you know, whatever, you still could blow your budget before you ever get, you know, to the end. And
very
what
easily.
happens for a lot of people, and again, we see it because we're in conventions all the time. For a lot of people, what happens is they will walk down an aisle like that only looking at prices or only looking at and trying to decide in their head how much they want to spend. They already have a budget in mind. They don't want to blow this or that and trying to make a decision. And so in some cases, they might make it to the middle. You know what I mean? But then if they make it to the middle, they're going all the way to the end because they're not buying anything, not yet. What happens when that happens is they get to the end of the aisle and they go, well, now I got to go look at everything else, everywhere else. And I may not even ever make it back to that aisle, right? So it's you know, it's kind of tricky, but it's understandable. What is it? Why sci-fi and fantasy for you?
I have always loved magic. I have always loved space. If there were two things about my life that I could change, I'm that person who went on a cruise and was like, God, if it is in your will to make me a mermaid, I will jump off this boat in a heartbeat. Like, like every cruise I have ever been on, I don't give up on God. So every cruise I have ever been on.
I got you.
Say to me, Sierra, I am
take that leap of faith, and I got you.
Take that leap of faith. Jump off this boat, and I will transform you into the first mermaid. You guys would think I'm crazy, but I'm off. I'm off, and I'm in. Okay. In space, I don't know if I don't know if you know the show called The Ark. It's on Sci-Fi Channel and it's on Peacock.
I'm familiar.
When I saw that show, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I've always wanted. Like where you're like in a world where living in space is feasible. It's possible. The Expanse. Like not shows where they call like, okay, cool, you're on a new planet, great. But like where humans, like it's just known that space is a thing, that you can go and like travel the world. Dark Matter, that like I've always loved shows like that. Star Trek, that was live long and prosper. Like, come on. Like, these will be the color of my scales. These are my scales colors right here.
Look, I'm with it.
Or green. Okay. But I just always loved it. I read Harry Potter. I read the Warrior Air. I read anything that was fantasy and sci-fi that could get my hands on. I loved. And I always wondered why we weren't the leads, because a lot of those stories, it didn't matter what your race was.
Sure.
So why weren't they Black? And so then that's why I started writing my stories. We didn't write
it. Okay.
Like we exist. So why can't we be the lead? Why I don't want to be the best friend. I want to be the person who is winning the war, the person who is the main character. And so
the person who God turns into the first murderer.
Like you would never see me again. I'm exploring everything. I'll be over in Greece. I'll be the siren from Odysseus, from the Odyssey. You will never.
Because I know the kind of questions that I would have about what this really means. I'm positive you have answers for, because what are you eating? And you're just like,
I'm eating healthy. I'm eating mangoes.
What? Seaweed, minnows? You're just
out there. Okay, out there. I'm eating crab oils. So give me some little shellfish. Give me some I might come to the coast, Maryland blue shell. Like, what's up, Sebastian? You taste good. Like, what are you doing?
She's just gonna crack open Sebastian.
Uncooked raw. Like, are we like finding a rock to like get on and like try to make we just uncooked raw? Just sushi and I know
Give
it
me a
is.
nice bluefin tuna. Shoot.
I am
that thing.
I know that you. I know you thought this out. Like again, I know you have an itinerary. You already know where you're going.
I'm going.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You totally thought this out. So like I'm
straight up swimming to Greece first.
Going to Greece because I want to be a siren and I want to freak those people out. I'm so sorry. Like I want to be the Odyssey in high school is one of my favorite books ever, and I've always like thought the ideas of sirens, like we sing and that might be I might need some mental health.
Sailors,
like drowning people.
Yes,
like you deserved it. They deserved it. Half those sailors deserved it. Y'all weren't faithful to your wives. Y'all deserved it. Why were y'all listening to them anyway?
Not if there were sirens. Why not horror?
I get nightmares.
Like, and you don't feel like it would help you because Sin doesn't do horror at all.
Nope.
But like you don't feel like it would help you with that if you were writing it, or no?
So there is a zombie apocalypse story in here.
Yeah.
Do you know why there's a zombie apocalypse story?
Tell me all about it.
Because you wait for it to pop off. Yeah,
we already ready already. We have a plan.
There's a plan.
I have a plan too.
We can't
but don't say a plan out loud because someone's going to steal it, and then
exactly. That's what I'm saying. We have a plan. We can't tell you.
We have a plan.
Yeah.
But no, I am a lucid dreamer, and so I wake up still feeling the anxiety of the whatever it was that I just watched or like in my head. And so like zombie horror I can watch while the sun is up. Certain like things where it's like I don't mess with possessions. I don't mess anything with like demon like nah, because the blood of Jesus, come on. I don't mess with like no, we ain't doing that.
All right.
Lord, I did not ask to be your strongest soldier. Please don't. There's certain things I just cannot. Like, I was a kid where when Scooby-Doo Zombie Island came out, I was like, Mom, Dad, can I sleep with you tonight? Because the zombie's going to get me. And I don't know what to do. And I love it now. I love it. Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs scared me when they first came out. I was like, I don't know. I'm too much of a lucid dreamer for horror. I try. I really do. Because there's some of the stories are really interesting. And I just want to get to the bottom of it, like the mystery of it. But then I go to sleep. And it just does not. And I'm like in my dream yelling at myself to wake up. And I don't wake up. And so it sucks.
I feel you in that. Yeah.
About to happen again.
Terrible.
I'm gonna blame that one on Sin. I just want to say, like,
why am I getting blamed on me? Hey, look, he
has fear. Who did that? Who's doing that?
That was me. That was me because I was trying to bring her back in. You doing it too?
Relax, Jose. Yeah, you kicked me
out.
My
countdown worked because I did a 5-second countdown. I'm learning. But yeah,
done.
That's not horror. Though I do know some really great horror authors. If you
gotta change your name, B. Okay.
I'm almost willing to give you a pass for not knowing the words to Thriller because you probably were scared.
It did give me a nightmare when I first watched it. I didn't want to tell y'all, but I'm already out there. So let's
hey, listen,
absolute crap out of
was coming together.
When he turned around at the end and his eyes, I was like, nah, nope. And I was like, no, we're good. And then literally, I had a nightmare about that one. I had a nightmare about that movie. About music video.
You know what? But you got a good sense of humor, and you're a little bit of a troll because I noticed that you did a post about BlurCon and all the people that you were with, and you put the Thriller song on there, but you literally started it after the part of the song you didn't know when you were there. I found that's coincidence. Say it's coincidence.
It is a coincidence because that is when the song started on Instagram.
BS. She did that on purpose.
Because I wanted to start because this is Thriller.
Nah, but that's not where you started. You started with Under the Moonlight, which is the next line after the line you were supposed to know.
You can just sort of shush. My cousin rep for our family, for our bloodline. This that bloodline on the front line. She was there for me.
She did hold it down.
Yeah. She helped you out. She saved you a little bit.
No.
She saved the segment a little bit. Yeah.
You know, like the name is still intact, I suppose.
Just your car got put on pause for that weekend.
I think singing "Remember the Time" should have.
It helped. It did. It helped. That was like, because also when Kay got the music going, you know what I mean. Like she was turned up. They were partying the hardest.
Yeah, for sure.
We had to because it was good.
Yeah, I'll it's a pass. Also, again, it's a pass with an explanation because he's scared of Thriller, and that's fine. I'll allow it. Jokes, one more time, put Andrea's link tree in the chat for me. I want to thank everybody who's been hanging out with us and has been listening and responding and answering questions and buying books. Which a few people I saw post in the chat that they did. That is awesome.
Yep.
Thank you for doing that. Again,
it was
please
K Dizzle and G Rich, I believe.
Yeah. Please make sure you follow the Instagram so you can stay abreast of what's going on with the Patreon and as new things are coming out and so forth. We won't dig too deep into podcasts that you're not doing. However,
They're still on my link tree because I still support them.
They are. They're there. Yeah. They are there. As is yours. There are a lot of episodes of your author podcast. Like there are a lot of episodes.
There are. I did have a lot of fun talking to other authors. It's not something that one is not completely done. It's just on pause for a moment, just because I just have a lot to do. But my author chat, it's just so much fun talking to authors about their process.
Yeah.
Because everyone is different.
I agree. That's why we like bringing people out here. Oh yeah, your Trekkie podcast thing. How did you become a Trekkie?
My dad. He'd be in his office working and his TV would be on and I would go in there and lay on his office floor and I would watch the Star Trek show. But I didn't know they were different shows.
I was say, which one was it, if you remember?
I didn't know until for the longest. I didn't know because I was just like, oh, it's these characters now.
Who's the captain?
Now I know it was Enterprise, it was Voyager, it was
Next Generation.
Next Generation.
Deep Space Nine.
Deep Space Nine,
probably. Yeah.
Deep Space Nine. It was mostly Deep Space Nine that he was watching, but I didn't realize when the Enterprise was thrown in there, when Voyager was thrown in there, I was like, oh, we're just taking a little detour this time. Then I got older. I was like, oh, they were different shows.
Some of them did have crossovers.
They definitely had.
Like, oh, we got Picard today. What's up, dude? How you doing? Okay, Janeway, I see you.
Yeah.
And then I got older. I was like, oh, these are okay. I like these. And so whenever I saw them on reruns, I would watch them. And then the movies came out, and we went to go see them as a family. And then when I graduated college with my bachelor's, we also went and saw the second Star Wars movie, Star Trek movie that came out.
Yeah.
With Khan. And it sort of just like reignited it. And then when Discovery came out, The Strange New Worlds, and then Lower Decks, which is just so beautiful. And I'm 100% sad that it's over. And I understand they did not want to ride it into the ground, but they could have got one more season.
Maybe they didn't have it in them. You know what I mean? I try not to ever request that an artist push themselves beyond their creativity.
And I respect that. I do. I really do. And I love the fact that it ended on a high.
Yeah.
And didn't end because it was like, all right, we wrote this series to death. But I just love Lower Decks so much. It was just so much fun. So my co-host Monica, her husband, sells at conventions, and so we got to talking about Star Trek, and she said that she wanted to do a Star Trek podcast, and I was like, oh, dope, I'm in, let's do this.
Yeah.
And I left it at the beginning of this year, just because I want to focus on more writing.
Yeah.
I want to focus on my audio drama. I want to focus on just focusing my focus on what I'm like actually working on, and that took a lot of mental energy. That took a lot of time to plan for it and prep for it, and I wanted to give my time to something else. So I left it, but it's still amazing, and you should go out there and discover Discovery with us in the first 5 seasons of a lot of things. So you'll still hear my voice on the first like 10 seasons of Trekkie and Beyond before it goes to someone else. So still check it out.
It's dope. I mean, I'm always happy that people are finding things that make them happy, right? That like, you know, and I probably see more of it at conventions than I think anywhere else on the planet, right? Just pockets of people enjoying pockets of things,
and it's the best place.
Pockets of things.
It's like the best place to even like try out new ideas to see, okay, this is coming down the pipeline. Do you guys like this? Do you not like this? Sure. It's a great sounding board because for the most part, most people are going to tell you to your face, yeah, that sounds amazing. No, no, it doesn't. Like I tried out a elevator pitch because I wanted to switch up one of the books, and this lady stood there and let me talk through all of them, and she was like, no, that one, just, do that one. So it's a great place to meet people who genuinely, for the most part, want to see other people succeed.
I would agree with that. Just a really, really good and strong community. Especially BlurCon, but like other cons definitely have it.
But BlurCon's a cookout. It's the family reunion.
Yeah.
It's the free kick is what it
is. Hey, 2026.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. I don't know if you booked your rooms yet, but you might want to try.
Oh no, they nipped that in the bud. So
they blocked that up. So look, we're going to. I'm a little concerned.
Why?
Because we're gonna watch a trailer.
Yeah, the trailer. Yeah.
Okay.
And
is it a horror trailer? Do I need to cover my eyes?
It's definitely a horror.
It's a horror trailer.
For what game?
It's Silent Hill. It's a new Silent Hill. It's called Silent Hill F.
I'm gonna watch like this.
All right, perfect. Jokes, let's do it. I'm gonna move the logo. Let's see how this goes. This posted last week, and there was a lot of buzz around it because Konami hasn't done much with Silent Hill that's new in a long time.
嘘ついてるよね。騙せてると思う？ひなこを。ひなこはね、死んだんだよ。ひなこはお友達といつまでも一緒にいたい。
They've also never done a Silent Hill that takes place in Japan.
彼らだっていつか必ずあなた
That's the one thing that has my interest peaked about it just because it's
あ
set
な
in
たが
Japan.
裏切り者と呼ばれたように。
It takes place in the 60s.
Oof, the pause.
ひなこ？あ、
Yeah, screw all that.
ごめん。何？
They look too real.
かける価値があるかどうか。しっかりと判断しなさい。
Hey, listen, I'm just gonna warn people. It gets a little extra.
A little dicey.
I don't like the sound.
I can hear the squishiness. I can hear that squish.
It's like, we don't investigate sound.
Oh, we in gameplay now?
No.
Oh no.
But if you were in this town and you couldn't get out,
What else you gonna do?
I have learned that at the end of the world is what I'm surviving.
ひなこ、いつまでここにいる気なの？
Like, what am I surviving for?
yeah, nothing.
自分でもおかしいと思うの。自分で自分がわからない感じ。
Probably will help them.
自分の気持ちが自分で理解できない。
There they go. Absolutely.
私かお前の夢の中ってことはないよな。ひなこ、もう時間がないのよ。
No.
あなたが生かされた
Absolutely not.
ことはここにいたっての
Absolutely
迷
not.
いがあるという
Nope.
あなたがそれに悩める時
I tell you, it gets
間もう
worse.
尽きかけている
You never know who would never do this.
あなたは誰なの
No.
さっきからなんで何も分か
If
ら
I
ない
was
ふ
a
りを
girl.
しているの私はねあんたをすぐに殺すこともできたんだよ全部奪ったな全部私から奪った
I don't know, man. This one looks dope.
You can let me know.
I just
You don't have to let me know.
Okay.
それではお別れを
Let's watch. Well, maybe don't watch.
Your
あなた
farewell.
が幸せをつかんでくれることを願っています。
Why do they keep making that squishy sound? That just sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
Gotta
That's a
have
no
the
for you,
squishy
Sin,
sound.
huh?
Hell no. Yeah, that's what it is.
I knew that. I knew it was a no before we even
Yeah.
decided to cross that path.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. Just it's been so long since movies like The Grudge and The Ring, whatever, like were really like super popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this is coming at a time where like that kind of thing has so much potential again. And I think we're in a place now where
Candace.
Candace, that's a no from me, dog. I keep my peace. Thanks. Listen,
like, look, deuces. I don't need that in my life.
It's one thing watching it. It's a whole other thing playing through it. Like,
True.
You know,
True.
I wouldn't know because I'm not going to play it.
and that's totally fair. You stick to your Sims
and Hogwarts Legacy.
And Hogwarts Legacy, which is an entire bop. Have you played through multiple houses of Hogwarts Legacy, or are you just like?
No, I'm still in Slytherin. I have been slowly playing it because I suck at fighting. And so I played a lot of it through storyboard mode to just sort of understand how to fight in the first place without dying consistently. And so now I'm actually playing through on easy. Those like things are hard. Like, why are there so many trolls?
They get whooped. That's all I know.
They do. Like it, but listen, but it's like it takes some time to get there though. Like as you level up and you start to get
it becomes.
Now I know how to work the potions, and like I finally figured out how to use this controller. I had to steal it from my brother. I took it from my brother. Don't tell him. But like I had to like figure out because the computer it wasn't working on the computer, and so I was like I need the controller, and so I finally figured out how to like walk and turn. And so I'm like, okay, potions, we got this. Yes, Slither wins. Yes. And I don't really want to be another house because I'm loyal to my house because I'm ambitious and cunning. And why would I ever want to be anything other than who I am? Slytherin for life.
And you know what? I'm not against that.
But I will play through the other ones just because I want to know the other quests that you could possibly have. But I am wrecking. In storyboard mode, those trolls ain't got nothing on me. Real life mode, oh my god,
they got your number.
Oh my god,
got a lot of love for the Slytherins. Green is also my favorite color. They're big. That's a lot. But you can handle it.
Yeah, one day I'm gonna live stream it when I can figure out how to do that.
There you go.
It'll be awesome.
Hey, you let me know. We'll walk you through it. We can show you how to do it.
Easy peasy.
You know what I mean?
Thank
we got you. So. Jokes.
Mm-hmm.
I sent you a link for a Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
Can you bring that up? I want to kind of walk through what this is. We play a lot of games here. I mean, we're comic book people, we're video game people. We're nerds. So I learned about this this Kickstarter for this new app, right? called Ludocene, and it is a game discovery app. So, like, the best way to describe this is it's like a dating app, but specifically for finding the right games for you to play. Oh. So you like have a profile, you build a profile, you say what kind of stuff you like game developers upload information about their games, pictures of it, all that kind of stuff, and like it's basically like you swipe games and things that just are the best ones for you based on the stuff that you say you like. You build a profile or whatever, and I just thought it was a really, really cool idea. You can play the video jokes if you want to play the video.
Cool.
Just to kind of get an idea.
Help us solve the game discovery problem. With thousands of games released every month, it's so difficult to find the games you'll love. Our Ludocene app solves this problem like never before. It's a dating app, but rather than matching with people, it matches you with games. It's a deck builder where you pick the cards that perfectly represent your gaming tastes, and then it offers you a stream of games to pick through to find your perfect next game. I'm Andy Robertson. I've been a video game journalist for about 20 years. I've run a database of games for the last 5, and over that time, I've come to believe that video games are a really valuable medium. Finding the right game at the right time can completely change your day. But finding that perfect game has become increasingly difficult, whether that's websites closing down, social media becoming more fragmented. Where do we go to find the games we love? That's where the idea for Ludocene was born. A human data-driven tool that playfully puts games in front of you that have a high chance of matching with your taste so that you can discover your next favourite experience. This deck builder dating app idea was just magic. From the moment we saw it and started seeing those cards moving around the screen, we knew we had lightning in a bottle. This then went to another level once we added the idea of experts. These are journalists, academics, streamers, anyone who has exquisite tastes and great knowledge when it comes to video games. We pay them to get set up on the site, they have their card. If you select that, then those tastes are applied to the suggestions we're making for you. This means it's not just us in charge of these recommendations. You get to choose which of these experts you want to influence the tastes of the games we're putting in front of you. You can then go through them, pick the ones that you agree with, discard the ones that you don't want, and you're in charge of where your game suggestion goes. We've put some time and money into this prototype and proving the concept really works. But to make it all that it should be, to revolutionise how we discover games and to create this playful tool that's independent, that's human-led, is going to require a much bigger budget. But we think we're perfectly positioned to deliver this for you. We've got an agile team that has a track record of delivering these kind of experiences. We've got 5 years of human research data to draw on. And with the budget we've put together, we'll be able to pay journalists, experts, streamers, whoever are making those cards for their time to ensure we get some really great people you can select whose tastes and expertise you can apply to those game suggestions we're making. We've also set aside money for a graphic designer, for testing, and to ensure that we can get this into your hands as quickly.
Oh, I'm almost positive those are the video gods.
Yep.
Time to wrap it up. Kick you out. All right, I guess I'll do it. Look, here's the thing. The Ludocene thing I feel like was interesting, not just because it was video game based, but I just think that we talk a lot on this platform about the sheer amount of content that is in front of people on a regular basis and how difficult it is, how like no matter what you do as a creative, you are vying for the time of your consumer against everything else. You are, if you want people to read a book, you're fighting against the time they spend on Instagram, the time they spend on Netflix, the time they spend on YouTube, the time they spend on TikTok, like you are. And then on top of that, there is so much content in so many places that we talk about our back catalogs for games all the time.
Oof, yeah.
What we have bought that we haven't had time to play, stuff we started that we didn't finish, but we really like to. We did enjoy it, but we just, the time is whatever. Yeah. We're all busy. We're all, and so the idea of having something that takes the idea of a dating app, right? Which the same thing. It's the idea is to simplify it and make it make more sense without you actually having to go out and like personally deal with people and get rejected and whatever else, right? The idea of having something put in front of you that could help narrow down some of those choices or help you make those choices, I think would be really good for almost anything else that we deal with, including books, including comics, including even individual shows. I think there's a lot of potential for something like that. And I find that the apps that are not specifically small video driven apps, so not your TikTok, not your YouTubes, but your Netflix, your Amazons, your Disney Pluses, while they are driven by having specific content that pulls you in and gets you to give up your monthly fee, what makes you stay is the UI and how well curated the product is that ends up in front of you, right? What they do with the algorithms that are like, as you say, you really like this show, or you add something to your list, it is trying to, you can use an algorithm to put stuff that's more like that in front of you. But of course, depending on where you are, they're going to put the stuff that they own in front of you first, more than anything else. You might be watching something they have a license to for somebody else. If it's, say, Netflix, that doesn't mean they're not going to put an ad in front of you that is for something that is their thing, or, whatever. So I just think that the idea of curation has become so much more important recently. And I honestly believe that even in physical spaces, just like what Andrea was talking about in terms of like, oh, let's do like a writer's block of just writers. Like in terms of curating that space and the way that people walk through it and like what makes sense for them, that can be so harmful, right? If you don't really think about doing it the right way. You guys have thoughts on that and on curation? What have you at all?
I think it's an interesting and honestly a smart idea, because gaming is on PCs now. It's everywhere. Who knows what you're missing or whatever. And by sitting down and trying to find something to play, this will definitely help out a whole lot, I believe, as long as it's the curation part is done correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it could be helpful. I think there's a place for it.
Yeah, just
the
like
idea of attempting to make it personalized, I think.
Yeah, helps out a lot.
Super helpful. And so I think it's just a matter of, obviously it'll take people to get in there and kind of mess with it and do it before you really see how well it works or how well it works for you. But the idea is sound, I think. Because I do think we need better ways to curate the things that we put in front of. We curate the guests that we have on the show and what we put in front of people, and what we put in front of people isn't always for everyone that tunes in. We're fortunate that we have people who are like willing to listen to us, talk to people, and be introduced to things that they otherwise might not have paid attention to otherwise. But I do think the curation is a missing piece, a missing component of so many things that we do on a regular basis. I think a lot of stuff is just kind of being thrown at the wall, and they're like, here's stuff, go find what you like.
I like it because I normally see the same thing when I log into Steam. I'm messing up all the words today. When I log into Steam, and then I log into whatever EA Games is, where my Sims is. I sometimes see the same. It's not based off of what I play, because if it's based off of what I play, you're not giving me Mass Effect, because I'm not playing anything close to Mass Effect.
Right.
So I think being able to log into an app and just say, oh, wait, you play this game, you like this, you have these like consoles, like, okay, don't advertise the game to me that I can't play because it is not on the console that I want.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, 100,000 people all like this game. Well, a lot of people like Halo, and I never figured that out. So, like, I like that this is something where like you can build your profile, and here are games that we think you specifically you would like. Like, if it could be like my For You page where I built that thing brick by brick. Like, don't show me something that I didn't ask for.
Yeah, I mean, look, even the idea of them bringing in like journalists and stuff who review games, like, you know, look, a lot of people, a review is literally somebody's opinion. But like, you can find people, if you read enough publications somewhere, you find people who review games and tend to like the same kinds of things you like, and you learn to trust, you know, a particular reviewer's opinion. Because so being able to be like, I want the kind of stuff that this person would recommend to me, because our like mindsets tend to align. On that note, Andrea, you might want to give Mass Effect a run. I'm just gonna be honest.
Classic.
I'm just gonna be honest.
Classic.
If you haven't even tried it, I want to just say that like it's so sci-fi, but it's so drama.
It's
you know, it's RPG. Like, it has action elements to an extent. The first one is heavier on the RPG, a little less on the action. The second one
is the best.
But the story and the fact that as you make decisions, like your decisions carry weight from the first one into the second one, into the third one. Yeah, so literally, like this, when the second one picks up, the literal decisions you made in the first game carry over and have an effect. Like, and it says many times, Loading Stacks is my curator. We appreciate that, man.
I mean,
Mass Effect is a bop. Like, it's
for real. Yeah,
one of my favorite franchises ever.
Yeah. I will not knock it.
Sure. It might not be for you. There's a part of me that feels like, look, it could even be from like a gameplay standpoint. It might not be your thing.
Hey, you just had that
like,
no, I got it when we were Stellar or whatever. I picked it up to put over here, whatever. But
N7-1. I think the story,
the story is what's going to keep me.
But even then, what's part of what's so enthralling about the story is it's, you know, it's RPG, but it's like choose your own adventure, because decisions you make will decide who lives, who dies.
Yeah.
It's it's like, and there are people who you will be like, I don't even like you. I don't want you on my team, but I like your abilities and your skill, and I kind of need you. Ooh, but if I could get rid of you, like, it's just like you
I can replace you. Yeah.
That thing is like, and then like, when you get into the second game, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have let so and so do such and such. It's like you literally end up making decisions for like an entire race. Like, it's crazy. It's a couple of entire races of people. Like, I would highly recommend at least making the attempt. And then, like, if you don't feel like you could do that, maybe watch a playthrough.
Okay.
But
I can agree to that. I can agree to watching the playthrough first to see if it's something that I think would jog, because I wasn't lying when I said the girl's balling on the budget. So
well, I mean, all right, well, that's fair. But at this point, Mass Effect, it should be kind of, you can just buy the trilogy now. Like, you can buy it all together.
Oh, okay.
So you can buy it all as one package, because they redid it and like did like HD remasters of them. And so it's not super expensive to get all 3 games now at all. But also,
so it's on my list.
That character creator, oh boy. It really was one of the first games where you could really get in and create somebody that like looked like you. And you could like, and in the original game, the main only had a choice of making a male character. The main character's name was Shepard, so you could do this. They had this whole thing about femshep. there's a lot of fan fiction. If you look, you'll find it. Don't dig too deep. But
I
like,
love me some fan fiction, so I can go.
I know you do. That's why I was trying to warn you about the rabbit hole. Yeah, but because they made it in the second game where you could choose to be male or female, right? Like for the first time, when they did the remasters and they redid them, they added that ability to the first game. And so like then people went back and just replayed, because people go back and replay the whole thing over and over again anyway, because you make different choices and see what happens and all that kind of stuff. How many times have you played through this, Jokes?
I have no idea.
I would say at least 3.
You know what? At least, because you know what? I beat it on. I played them originally on Xbox. Then when they originally released the version on PlayStation, I bought the joint on PlayStation, played it completely through there. Then we got the remastered joint, and I think I played that probably 4 times actually. Yeah, so probably like 4 times.
Yeah, you're also an animal, so you know, it's cool. Look, we're gonna wrap the show up. So what does that mean? First, it means we have to thank Andrea for coming and spending some time with us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're awesome,
I know
Andrea.
it's hard to carve out time, to do stuff like this. We
happy to be here.
Love you. We love seeing you when we go to conventions and so forth.
Thank you.
And this won't be the last time.
Would love to.
Anytime.
This is fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Make sure again you guys are following Andrea across the board. Jump in, see what's going on with the Patreon. When you're ready to do it the way you want to do it, Andrea, then you let them know and keep it pushing. You let us know and we'll post it. Like it's cool. Just keep us in the loop. Of course. Sin.
Yo.
Anime chat.
Yeah, we actually just literally finished wrapping up the episode. Interesting news this week, as always. We got to look at some trailers for some new stuff going to drop in a couple of weeks for the spring that have us really excited. So look forward to that. Top 3s are back to normal after last week. So expect Solo 11 and ReZero back at the top, like they always have been. Just great episodes this week. And we have a interesting topic about when it comes to the creation of anime. Who's the one supposed to be keeping it in check when it comes to diversity and inclusion and stuff like that? So we have a discussion about that. That was really cool. So look forward to that. That'll be dropping 10 a.m. on Thursday for everybody. So like I said, we just finished wrapping up. I just got to put those touches on it, and then it'll be at y'all's front door. So be here before you know it. Yeah.
Jokes.
Yes, sir.
There's always something happening with wrestling. What is going on?
Well, if you guys have been keeping up, Greg, I know you won because you was wondering where Raw was this week. Currently WWE's overseas, so Raw and SmackDown are coming on smack during the middle of the day on Monday and Fridays. So
I got hit with his issue when I got home from my brother's house. When I tried to keep watching it, it was giving me like January 6th. It wasn't letting me watch the current one.
See, it didn't give me that issue. I think I know why. I'll tell you afterwards. Okay. So really, it's just been everyone's been trying to keep up with Raw and SmackDown as they've been airing during the middle of the day. Me and Marcus had a conversation on the Finisher podcast. We're gearing up for WrestleMania, so starting to just have some WrestleMania talks. We're looking to talk about some like favorite moments and things that are going to be happening or things that we've already seen. Because boy, oh boy, things are heating up for WrestleMania 41.
Yep.
We got heel John Cena before we got Grand Theft Auto 6. So it's like,
and Rhea bullying her way into the fight for the title.
Why you always bring Rhea up, man? Leave her alone, dog.
She's not she literally bullied herself into it on Monday.
Just, you know what I mean? Just let her
and it's
go,
Rhea.
man.
Like, come on now.
You gotta bring her up. You know
yes,
I
mean? Do. Yes, I do. You know me. I
got to. Listen, our newest episode of Spoiler Boys is live right now, where we discuss the first 3 episodes of Daredevil Born Again. Going forward, they will be releasing for each episode as the episodes release. But those are up. We are about to record the 4th episode for that, as well as the entire Spoiler Boys for the entire season of Invincible. If you have not been watching Invincible,
fix your life.
I highly recommend. If you can deal with the violence, then by all means, jump in. On that note, all of these separate shows we do, including weekly, like this show, Anime Chat, The Finisher, Spoiler Boys are all also available on podcast services. So by all means, shoot over to Spotify, search for us. You will find us. If you search Loading Snacks, generally speaking, we'll come up. And so feel free, like if you don't have the time to tune in or to, all those other things, then definitely just check us out there. Candace says thanks, Andrea. So yeah, please go follow the podcast so you get updated when the new episodes go live. And that way, if you miss some video format, generally we upload the video format to Spotify too, which I don't know that everybody knows that you can actually watch video podcasts on Spotify. Now that's been a thing for a while. So we don't just upload the audio, we actually upload the video version, but you can just listen to it if you want to. So we just want people to know that that's, to be aware, and that's another way that you can catch the content. I know we put out a lot of stuff and it can be difficult to keep up with it. Choose the things you like, and what you can do and what you can't. We'll fill you in when we get back here every week. So it's cool. We are getting ready to round out Women's History Month. Megami Cosplay is joining us next Tuesday. Again, I want to thank Andrea for coming in and hanging out with us today. It was really, really awesome to have you. I want to thank listen, there are things that I wanted to discuss we didn't discuss, but we're not going to bring everything to the light in front of all people. We could save some of the Sims vampire stuff for other later conversations. Fair? Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot we can discuss about vampires in The Sims.
100%.
Not the whole thing, but I have thoughts.
Do a one-off. We can do a one-off, just a separate episode.
I can't hear you, but it's okay because we're going to come back, and I'm going to come back. And I'm going to have a conversation with you about certain vampire things that I never said, and then certain vampire things I did say.
Okay.
Certain vampire thing you never said. Got it.
Y'all had that idea. I don't know what y'all talking about. I would never.
I'm gonna bring a dictionary with me when we have that conversation. That's all I'm gonna say to the writer. I'm just gonna say I'll bring the dictionary and the thesaurus to the conversation.
Words evolve.
Go around.
Words evolve over time. Meanings evolve over time.
Andrea, are you gonna watch Sinners, the movie? Have you seen the trailer for Sinners? Michael B. Jordan, the vampire movie that's coming?
I am going to watch it. My eyes will be covered half the time. But I did I did watch the one with Jamie Foxx on Netflix, and there was some parts where I was just like, okay. Oh, okay, we're good. Oh, wait. Okay, we're good. I did watch Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, and there was a lot of times I was just like, okay.
Wow, that's a throwback.
Yeah. Right. So I'm going to watch anything that is Black sci-fi will get a watch, or my TV would be on in some room in this house and it's getting a play, so that way it's always supported.
All right.
Yes.
Checking the marks. I got it. That's fair.
Our numbers, they need to always have high numbers. Always.
I get it. Run it up.
Mm-hmm.
Run it
up.
It
may not be my cup of tea, but it's someone's, and so let's run it.
That's all right. I love tea. You know what I mean? I really do. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us this evening. The show just isn't the show without you all hanging out and being in the chat and so forth. So thank you all for doing that. You can literally be anywhere. I'm so happy you chose to be here with us this evening. And if it's not live right now when you're watching this, and I'm glad you are here while you are, whenever that is, however that happens to be. Jokes. Mm-hmm. There is a way I like for you to wrap up the show. I have a saying that I think people should hear, but I like the way you say it. So would you please?
Right ahead, here you go.
Yes, sir. Remember, y'all, just because you have a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea.
And with that, we're out. Toodles and Lose.
Loading snacks.